Hardcore motivation, baby. Daily inspiration, sugar. Spiritual foundation, brother. That's what you got to have when you're rolling with the coach on DCC. We offer it every day, Monday through Sunday, man, right there at www.415-96radio. That's right, www.415-96radio. Hardcore motivation, daily inspiration, and your spiritual foundation from the coach. Y'all got to tune in. Follow me on Twitter at SelectUSATV. Come on, Instagram followers. Thank you so much. Follow me there at SelectUSATV. And don't forget Facebook.com at SelectUSATV as well. And we have a show page. Don't forget the Coach's Corner on SIBN Radio on Facebook. Whatever you do, tune in. Hardcore motivation. Tune in. That's right. That's right. I want to ask you a question. Who's coaching you? Who's asking you the tough questions? Who's telling you, man, you're the common denominator to all of your issues and challenges? Who's telling you, man, all day long you become the magnetic pulse that attracts to you both good and bad? I want to be your life coach. I want to be the one that cheers you on to the finish line. I want to be the one that you ask the tough questions. And it doesn't mean that I have all the answers, but that means that you have a partner, someone who believes in you, not the you see right now, but the you can't imagine, the you that you are to become, the you were destined to be. I always say we both need the positive and the negative. It's not enough to have the knowledge of the matter, but we must have the wisdom as well. For wisdom settles it. And that's what I want to offer you as you join me on the Coach's Corner. I want to offer you the wisdom of the matter. Maybe it might be relationships, talking about our campaigns for more, for life, the dark room of our subconscious, our spiritual journey. Whatever it is, I want to be there to encourage you, to build you, to challenge you, to cheer you on to the finish line. I'm qualified to do this. Why? Because I'm you. Thank you so much for joining us right here on the Coach's Corner on SIBN Radio. And my name is Marcus. So let us approach the microphone today. I want to let you know that I have my own set of personal challenges and professional bloopers, if you will. But I like to think that I'm bringing to the microphone the wisdoms of the matters, where I have made my mistakes. And hopefully I can earn the right to speak into your life. And today we're going to be talking about, continuing in our series, faith series, motivationally speaking, teaching our teens to believe. I think one of the hardest jobs in the whole wide world is to be a teenager at any given time, particularly in this particular modern technological era that we find ourselves in. So we want to encourage parents, single parents, married couples, believers and non-believers as it pertains to the Christian faith, and any of you that may be raising children, the significance of teaching teenagers to believe not only in themselves but also in a power higher than they can see. I would be remiss if I did not say thank you so very much to all of those that are listening to the various platforms where SIBN Radio is airing. Thank you so much on Twitter, Facebook, and beyond. Let's get to work. As we think about teaching teens to believe, we want to make sure that we, as one of my friends say, are modeling what we expect them to brand, because children brand what is modeled. In other words, branding, they begin to demonstrate cognitively, subconsciously, directly, as well as indirectly, those things that are modeled before them. It's an awesome responsibility to really be a parent, because these little lives are depending on us. They're leaning on us. They're looking up to us. And even in their stubbornness and even in their waywardness, and their mouthiness. I know that's probably not a word, but I just made it up. Teenagers are in a storm. I forewarned my son when he was 10, the last one anyway. I forewarned him. I said, son, a storm is coming. It'll hit you right about 11 and a half. It'll come full strength about 13 and a quarter. And I kept warning him. Every birthday, I would sit down and have a talk with him to let him know that a storm was coming. And what storm was I talking about? Emotional storm, biological storm, physiological storm, psychosocial storm is coming. And every year we would have that talk so that he would be aware that there are days when he's not going to feel great. There are days where he's not going to feel like he wants to respect the process and the people in the process. I forewarned him that his hormones would be in balance and out of balance, up and down, his mood swings. I informed him. I forewarned him of what to look for. And sure enough, they showed up. Every single thing that we talked about showed up, and it's still showing up. Because boys don't really come into great logic, in particular, until they're around 23, 24 years old. And so he's not even close to that just yet. But the point of the matter is this, that before we can teach kids faith, we've got to ask ourselves as parents and guardians, what are we modeling for them? Now, I just believe. That's just me. Now, I always start my show telling you what my problem is. Let me tell you what my problem is not. My problem is not believing God. My problem is not believing God for things. I've always had this notion that the greatest problem that I really may have is that when God does say yes, will I be ready for the yes that he will release? Because a no can't last forever. Rejection can't last forever. I need some help right there. When you really think about the goodness of God, as the folks in church say, and when you think about the goodness of living, you already know that a no can't last forever. And so are we modeling that, though? Are we modeling that everything is impossible? Are we so frustrated, agitated, that our children pick up that we don't believe in them or don't believe in a power higher than ourselves or a process higher than ourselves? And so therefore we take our frustrations out on the children or the dog or the cat, as they say, because we ourselves don't believe. In order to teach kids how to believe, we ourselves must be modeling the same. But I don't want to spend all of my time there, because you have to do your self-assessment on your own time and check yourself, because as I've said on other shows, that one of the things that we all have to do, it doesn't matter who we are, our belief system has to always be upgraded. I like that right there. I like that because the me that I was yesterday is not the me that I am today, and surely will not be, hopefully, the me that I am desiring and aiming for on tomorrow. I should be growing internally. I'm growing externally. If I'm not growing, I'm aging externally. So if you're not growing, you ought to age well. And so this is what faith does. Faith is the journey therein. Faith is the step-by-step processes that go from A to B and B to C. And it seems like a whirlwind. It seems like a whirlwind because when you work like I do, at least, even in working in these days, it seems like everything is connected to everything. You can't escape anything without having to address something. I need some help right there. And so it seems a little agitated sometimes because you have to believe for this and then you have to believe for that. Then once you get the utility bills down, then you got to turn around now because your mortgage rate went up. And then you got to double back to the kids because now they want to have a girlfriend much earlier than they used to want to have a girlfriend, and then you're trying to figure out how to deal with that. And then you double back to your own relationship, and then you have to deal with church folk, and then you double up on a job. I mean, so faith is interconnected, interrelated to everything we do. So the question is, what are we modeling in front of the children? Can they see what we believe? That's good right there. Can they see what we believe? And even can they see what they believe? because the results that I'm enjoying today is a result of my belief on yesterday. I need help. I'm going to a small commercial break, get me some water, all out of coffee in the office. Hit me up on Twitter, Facebook. Be right back.
You are tuned in to Chat with the Coach, brought to you in part by SIBN Television and Radio Networks. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Pinterest at Salette USA TV. That's SALETTE USA TV. SIBN Television and Radio Networks is powered by Salette USA TV. We'll be right back after this. The number one show on SIBN Television and Radio, the Coach's Corner's Daily Show. Now airing at www.415-96radio.com for hardcore motivation and daily inspiration. Tune in. That's www.415-96radio. That's www.415-96radio.com.
SCGPW. That's right. The Select USA TV Collabo Media Groups and Partners Worldwide for a limited time has opened up its membership to the general public. Now you can collaborate worldwide with media conglomerate SIBN Television and Radio. If you want to join free of charge for this limited time offer, then visit www.WeSupportSelectUSATV.com. That's right, we have programs, benefits, service, and so much more to offer to our members exclusively at SCGPW. That's right, visit www.WeSupportSelectUSATV.com. That's www.WeSupportSALETTEUSATV.com.
Well, thank you for joining us right here on the Coach's Corner on SIBN Radio. We're talking about teaching teens to believe. First up, we talked about modeling what we expect them to accept as the core way to believe. Is the core way the way of frustration, agitation, manipulation, domination? Some households that I'm speaking to are surrounded by those kinds of adjectives, if you will. So the question is, you have to do your own assessment on your own time. What are we modeling? Now, let's get to the teens believing. We have to encourage teens to believe because life is not surrounded and composed of only what you can see. And the sad fact about teens today, and one of the reasons why we have so much chaos and so much confusion, is because no one is understanding that there's a developmental process to the teens' evolution and maturity. And if we don't begin to read up on what the developmental processes are for teenagers, let's say, for instance, between 12 and 14, or, they're in groups, or between, I want to say 8, 9, 10 and a half, maybe 11. And then you go from maybe 11 and a half, a mature 11, to about 13 and a half. And then there's that 14 through 16 and a half group. You break it up and you Google what the developmental characteristics are of these age groups, and you learn how to coexist in peace as much as you possibly can, but with discipline, of course, and with direction, of course, but with congruency, with fluidity, with cooperation, with peace. It's not just do as I say. It's not just do what I'm telling you. This has to be a cooperative effort as we raise our teens who are transitioning from girls to womanhood and from boys to manhood. I need some help. We just can't mouth off, yell, scream to the top of our lungs, and solve everything that way. We just can't cuss them out, throw things at them, tell them to get out, and expect their developmental needs to go away.
they just don't go away. And as they age, imagine if you didn't get what you needed from 8 to 10, and now you're 13 or 14 years old, and you're not getting what you need in this age bracket, and then you turn 17, well, you've just went 2, 3, 4 seasons without your developmental needs met. And here you have this teenager now caught in the thicket of confusion. And then we wonder why they don't believe. They don't believe in God. They don't believe in you as the guardian or the parent, and they don't believe in themselves. It is a failure of belief or failure to believe. And I want to encourage you that we have to first model belief systems to them. And one of the things that I have found out is that if you see your son or your daughter modeling something that you cannot stand, I want to challenge you to look within yourself, because they're emanating from your conscious being. They're emanating from your spirit. They're emanating from your ensample. They're emanating or imitating what their environment has produced, down to your most inner thoughts about yourself. Parents that are feeling low self-confidence, low self-esteem, have girls who, in a broad sense or in a bold sense, can be bullies because they are covering for the weakness of a lack of belief in themselves. So they come out tough. You know, this is where school bullying kind of begins, really. The ones that are bullying perhaps are bullying because it is a counter to the weakness we can't expose. It is a counter to the weakness we won't talk about. So when teaching teens to believe, first, the core from which the modeling springs must be authentic as best as possible. Though it may have errors in it, that's not the point. The point has got to be authentic. In other words, if you mess up as a parent, as a guardian, as an adult, you got teens around you, let them know, look, this is wrong right here. What I said was not right. It's not a great forecasting adjective, if you will, for the future. I've got to change how I think and what I'm saying, because I just realized that it's not worrying that gets the job done. It's not, whatever. And sometimes you can hear your teenager saying, well, Mom, don't worry about it. Great wisdom can emanate from a young teenager, but because we don't trust them in their developmental process to give anything productive to us, we think as adults that everything that we will receive will come from someone that will be our equal. But there's a proverb that says a child can lead them or shall lead them. Great wisdom can come from them, because oftentimes, as Jesus in dealing with Peter, he says, flesh and blood have not revealed this to you. And there are teenagers who are tuned in to the spiritual world, whether you like it and accept it or not, and they can be receptacles of information or wisdoms to help you as a parent or as a guardian. And so we must acknowledge these things in their developmental lives so that they themselves do not feel void and want to commit suicide and want to just die and want to just disappear and want to just mark up and fiddle and just run away, because no one ever sees any value in them beyond good behavior. The children bring to the table more than just good behavior, being good and obeying the rules. But we have brought them, we have minimized them down to a rule behaving entity. And if you break the rules, this is your consequence, and thus you're out and next in line, and you broke the rules too, so this is your consequence. I mean, we're farming out consequences like running water now. And so my point to you is that let's model what we believe. We're modeling it anyway, whether we accept it or not. But let's teach them. One of the ways to teach teens to believe is to call out that good, no matter how small it is. I'll say that again. Call out that good in her and him. Because sometimes the issues with teens is not the teens. It's the one that's over the teens. I need some help. Let's just tell it like a TI is.
Sometimes the issue is not the teenager at all. Sometimes they're there, as all human beings are there, to agitate all of us to a growth point. But since we are in charge, we dictate and tell them, even when it comes to doing their schoolwork, even when it comes, and a lot of things teens are at a disadvantage because you didn't train them earlier. I need some help. And even when you have trained them earlier, they still tend to fall by the sword of their own thinking, so to speak. And they forget that, well, since logic doesn't kick in, particularly for boys, until you're 24, I need you to trust me and do exactly as I told you. But you've got to have credibility with that child in order for them to trust you. And they've got to be able to see that when you calm down and when you condescend to their level and understand their developmental characteristics for their particular age, when they see and sense that you care, I need some help right there. When they see and sense that you care, they'll give you creds, as they say in the street. They'll give you creds. See, a lot of people don't have creds with teens because we're too condescending and too judgmental and too argumentative and too bossy and too authoritative and too manipulative and too dominating and breaking so many of their aspects of their spirit, breaking so many aspects of their developmental characteristics in their spirit, that they don't give you the credibility that you could say a wisdom to them and they would take it and be able to run with it. And then the opposite is true, that kids often function in a duality lifestyle, one that's before those that they supposedly honor and respect, and another among their peers. Why? Because they're learning the balance of it all. They're learning the balance of it all. And they're learning the operation, as one of my friends say, of code switching. I need some help. They turn up when they're with their homies, and then they turn down when they with the parents. And for some kids, they turn dumb when they with their parents. I mean, I need some help. And that's okay. But being okay with our teens' mistakes is the first lesson of calmness. Keep calm. We made mistakes. We made blunders. We messed up probably more than we care to remember. And also we grew up in a different time. Teaching kids to believe means, listen, it's okay to make mistakes. Do you know how long it took me to even say that? It's okay. If your child loses it, if the child makes a mistake, I mean, gruesome as it may sound, and when it comes to school, administrators make it sound so bad. This child is doomed. This child, our rules have been compromised, and other students have been marginalized because of your child. I mean, come on. I mean, by the time the schools get done with your kids, you feel like you need a lawyer. I already done told you the First Amendment, the right to remain silent is not even an option for kids in school. That's another issue. The schools, kids are succumb or required to submit to rules and regulations and processes that even violate them at the start. They teach them in elementary school, you don't have a right to remain silent. And then they want them to be quiet in middle school. I need some help. And come to order in high school. And the moral of the story is you can't have it both ways as adults. We can't get everything we want when it comes to the kids. They're in development for the love of goodness. You know what I'm saying? They're in development. And all we ever hand to children and parents is a rule book. I'm afraid that that's not going to be good enough, and that's not going to be healthy enough for the evolution of developing children or teenagers. They need more than rules. They need more than guidelines. Yes, they need guidelines. Yes, they need rules, but they're evolving, and each personality is different. So teaching teens to believe means knowing that teen as that teen and not grouping them, though characteristics will be the silver lining throughout that age group, but not grouping them with everyone else or with a previous experience, but giving them creds as being in their own individual, though you already see likeness of them being like someone else. It's very difficult. It's very difficult to teach teens to believe these days. First, they look at what we do and they listen to what we say.
then they watch what we do each and every day. They think to themselves in the nighttime hour, will I have the dunamis, the ability when I go to school in that testing hour? Most of them think that they will fail and not please anyone. And we ourselves as parents and guardians, teachers, must teach them to look up, not to the sun in the sky, but the sun on the throne. Teaching kids, teaching teens in particular to believe means that we have to show them who they are becoming and not allow them to define themselves by what they have done. You'd be surprised, the people in power and the people with money in today's vernacular, if you looked into their past as teens, at what they were doing. No, I'm not an advocate of a lot of things and behaviors that teens have adopted to fulfill their sense of family. The murders, the burglaries, the rapes, the drunkenness. I'm not in favor of these things. The criminality, the recidivism, or the rotation in and out of jail, the probation, the parole, the killing of parents. No, we are not signing on to these behaviors. But I think that we have done ourselves a great injustice by being over authoritarian, as parents, manipulative. Anything that goes from dogma to dogma is really not good anyhow. You got to have a little bit of ice cream every day. Like I say, you got to have an apple every day to keep the bugs away. Well, that's okay if you say it like that, but if you preach it and dogmatize that apple a day, it becomes a problem. And so this is what we're looking at. We are looking at a lot of children who are responding to how we have responded. And it doesn't look good. And as I close, the other thing that we have not done, we have not shined or shown the light of the good kids, the kids that are challenged and at high risk and involved in criminality and other things overshadow, because we have a thirst for bad news. We have a thirst for things that are not good. And so we miss out on that child that is exemplifying, and we miss out on the child whose traits point toward positivity, because we're giving the negativity and the behavior of such waywardness and such riskiness more attention than necessary. I want to encourage you. Teach your child to believe first from the core of which you do your everyday thing. Teach your child to believe by you believing and finding positive things in them that peak, no matter how small, and compliment those things. Make a big deal about those things, particularly for boys, also for girls. Teaching teens to believe is one of the most difficult jobs, but it begins with you and with me. And they're looking to us almost like babies saying, how do I cross this bridge? How do I go from girlhood to womanhood? How do I go from boyhood to manhood? I think that being a teenager today is one of the most difficult jobs there is. If they were getting paid to be them, they'd be rich, because they're being just who they are, teens, caught in a storm, caught in the developmental trap of evolution. Some respond well and some do not. Let's pray for them all. This has been the Coach's Corner Faith Series. Connect with me on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube at Select USA TV, SALETTEUSA TV. Don't forget the website 415-96radio.com. And for financial support, partnership, sponsors, you can join me at www.WeSupportSelectUSATV.com. Until next time, hug yourself and trust in the process.
Listening to SIBN Radio.